Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to this, the fourth in a series of video tutorials on how to create a Minecraft style game in Unity 5. Okay, before we begin I just want to cover one or two things that I've had some questions and comments about and give some feedback. A few people have asked about the script we used in the last episode, asking why does a copy and paste job. Reason for that is because the script itself is an advanced script and we are only at beginner level in these tutorials at the moment, and rather than confuse and disorientate anything, it was easier to copy and paste. Later on in the series I'll more than likely explain the script anyway, so if you want to know bit by bit, just hold on for another few tutorials. Secondly, Minecraft itself wasn't created in Unity, it was created in Java, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So ultimately we can't actually recreate Minecraft. We're not trying to recreate Minecraft here. We are trying to make a Minecraft style game. So it looks and plays like Minecraft, but it is not a remake of Minecraft. Okay, so let's quickly review what we've learned so far in the previous tutorials. So we've learned how to create blocks by going to Game Object, 3D Object, and going to Cube. That's how we've been creating them. We've learned how to texture blocks just by simply dragging and dropping textures onto materials, and then materials onto our game objects, our blocks. Also, you can actually just drag and drop straight onto the block texture. We've learned how to apply scripts to objects. So we've learned this script literally applied straight to our object. We've learned the good old duplicate, which is Control and D. So we duplicate blocks and pull them out like so. And we've also learned how to add our playable character into our world. So when we press play, we can see our characters in. So with that, we will deal with our character first and foremost now. Just collapse this hierarchy here. What we'll be looking at in this episode is adding our arm for Steve, playing with some rotation, and building a little more of our level with some new blocks that we will import, and we'll also prepare for our next episode. Okay, so first of all, down here, make sure you're in the materials area, just here. And go up here, Game Object, 3D Object, Cube. Change the local position to 0, 0, 0. And over here, let's right click and rename. We'll simply call this Steve Arm. So over here, it's got FPS controller. Click the arrow, and you'll see first person character. Drag Steve Arm onto first person character. And you'll notice here, even though we've changed position to 0 previously, it's now changed itself again. Now I'll quickly explain why that's happened. Originally, when Steve's arm was here, in the hierarchy, it meant that it was literally here, 0, 0, 0 within the world. However, the block will not move, but in relation to where the first person character is, this block is now moved over here. So when you zero anything out, it places it in the center of its parent object in the hierarchy. For example, if we were to, let's say, drag Steve Arm into Sunlight 001, you'll notice, you'll notice it changes yet again, but doesn't move here. So let's drag it back onto first person character, and let's zero out the axes again. So you'll see our block is kind of floating in midair at the moment. So what we intend to do is make it so as when we press play in our game, we can actually see our block just in front of us here, which will look more like an arm when we shape it. So all you need to do is take this and pull it out very slightly. Press play and we should see, yep, big block right in front of us, which means our camera can see it. So let's pull it a little more. Maybe put the Z or Z axis as 1.50 for now. Okay, next we will resize and rotate. So over here, in this top little button here, make sure you're clicking on normal now. Now let's change the scale. This is the first time we'll be changing the scale of anything in Unity so far. As you're probably aware, within Minecraft itself, everything is virtually the same size in a block. Very, very few things are actually rotated within Minecraft. Steve's arm is one of the rare exceptions. So we'll get onto that in just a second. So let's set our scale to 0.5. And let's set our Y to 0.5 as well. And let's quickly see how that looks when we press play. Smaller, but not quite good enough. Let's try changing it to 0.35 and 0.35. Press play. Okay, that looks better. Now what we need to do is if we drag it down slightly, and now this is where the rotation comes in, just here. So we want to rotate on, well, let's start with the y-axis. Let's put it as, let's see, 20. No, we want to rotate it the other way. So we'll do minus 20. And press play. There we go. And as you can see, we do have slight rotation now, which is looking better. But we need to drag it back ever so slightly to about there. So let's press play again and see how that looks. It's not looking too bad. Now what we'll do is we will rotate on the x-axis very slightly, and we'll put this as maybe, now it'll have to be a minus again. Let's try minus 10 and press play. Okay, that's looking slightly better. What we might need to do is let's change the scale on the Z or Z axis, and we'll change that to 1.5. And we'll drag up very slightly on the Y axis and press play again. Steve's arm looks quite long right now, but it may do the trick. At the moment it is just a case of playing around and see what settings are right for you. So in fact, let's change to 0.8 on that for now and press play again. I think that might do for now. Obviously you can take your time, play with it a little bit more, but instead of me wasting time on it, I'll keep it like that for now. Okay, so our next thing to do is down here in your asset window, right click, create, and click material. I'm going to call this material Steve Arm. Over here on your little button over here, click on debug. And if you remember, this is where we place our texture within our material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import this called Steve Arm straight into Unity. There we go. And now I'm going to drag that onto our material here in the texture. So we place that just there. Now you'll notice at this point the texture we have for Steve's arm is looking kind of similar to what we have for the dirt with grass. Same with the material. The reason for that is we'll be using the script again to wrap the texture around Steve's arm. So, drag and drop onto Steve's arm. I get the feeling we may need to rotate it completely round in just a second, but we'll soon see. And if you go into your scripts and the map texture script, simply drag and drop onto the Steve's arm as well. Now press play. And that's not quite worked how I wanted. Not at all. Let's just quickly double check. So if we zoom in and let's rotate on the Z-axis or Z-axis. So if we go over here, click on normal and rotate that to 90. Let's press play and see if it looks any better. Still no. Let's try the 180. Not quite working how I would like at the moment. So what I may do is quickly cheat. There's always ways to cheat in Unity, which can be quite handy from time to time. And all you need to do to cheat until we get it working in the next episode is duplicate Steve's arm, Control D. So you got Steve arm 1. Rotate at let's see, 90 degrees. And let's see, the position we need to change ever so slightly. So we just drag out there. So as you can see, it is sort of working just here, which is fine for now. You can play around, you can adjust it ever so slightly. Just double check that the script did actually go on. So I have noticed from time to time scripts can be a little bit crazy, but yes, it is working. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this very slightly. Change 0.8 and see if that makes any difference. That'll do for now. So there is rather low quality Steve's arm. Now in the future, as we have two just here, we'll always have Steve's arm, but Steve's arm 1 can be used to replace with, say, a bow and arrow, an axe, things like that. So when we come to making different weapons, Steve's arm 1 will be what we use for the weapons. Okay, so continuing on forward, let's just switch our scene around slightly. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to import two new textures. So this texture and this texture. Gold 001, stone 001. Take and drag into Unity. Now all the assets we use, as always, are available free on our website. You don't need to pay anything, just head on over there, download the assets. So as with everything else we've done, right click, create, and material. We'll call this one stone solid 002. And over here, back to debug. And this stone 2 will be applied to this material. So just drag and drop on here. Next, right click, create, and material. And we'll call this material gold 001. So you can pretty much guess what we're going to do now. We're going to take this texture straight onto our material there. So now we have two new blocks. What we'll do is we'll put them in. Now you can either go to Game Object, 3D Object, Cube, change the local position to 0, 0, 0. Let's drag it this way. And let's apply Stone Solid 002 to our cube. Right click and go to Rename. And let's see, we'll call this one Stone Block 2. So we'll go to Game Objects, Create Empty, right click, rename, and call this, let's see, Stone Blocks 2. And just drag and drop in the hierarchy. So now let's duplicate. Control D, remember, just duplicate a few. And let's see. A couple more. Okay. Next, let's see, we'll do this method. We will take this block here and we will duplicate. And let's pull it outwards. And then here in the hierarchy, we need to place this, rename it first. Probably be easier to rename. And we'll call this Gold Block 001. Go to Game Object, Create Empty, right click and go to Rename, and we'll call this Gold Blocks. And now our Gold Block 001, drag and drop in the hierarchy. And then finally, this material we've created just here, drag and drop on here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag this to about there, and then I'm going to surround our gold block with some of this stone just here. So when we press play, see, just there, our gold block. So we can mine that in the future. Okay, let's collapse everything, tidy up our hierarchy. Let's see, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this block just here and I'm going to drag it over here and down. I'm going to duplicate a few times and I'm going to make a little space just over here so as we can kind of prepare for our next episode. So if you want to select all these blocks just here, duplicate, and again, and again, and again. Let's do it quite a few times just to make some space. On this note, with the amount of blocks we're now having, I have seen a few questions from people asking about limits on the amount of blocks you can have. On a decent computer, you can generally have several thousand blocks before you notice any kind of lag. So, after testing it on about an 8 gig machine with maybe around 2 GHz processor, that's 8 gig RAM I should mention, you could have around 5,000 blocks before you notice any sort of lag, but on much better computers you could probably go 10,000 plus. I mean, at this stage I wouldn't worry too much about lag, as once you actually render the game and build it, you could probably have so many more blocks without any lag at all. Okay, so let's press play here. Over here now we have a nice little area which will come in handy in our next episode. Okay, so we'll leave this episode here for now. Steve's arm decided to go a bit funky on us, but it's not a big deal at the moment. Steve's just misbehaving, that's all. So yeah, that's the end of this tutorial, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.